Hi guys, welcome to this episode of another guitar show. This is another licks and tricks episode, much like the one we've done before, where we're going to make up some licks in the style of certain players. I think I'm going to take Dave Gilmour and John Mayer, and Andy's going to give us Page and Slash. So do you have your top hat? Did you forget it?
Can't play.
No, let's just... Before we get into it, I just want to talk to you about a masterclass that Your Guitar Academy is doing with Paul Gilbert on the 2nd of April in Birmingham. The venue is Mama Roo, that is R-O-U-X, because I had no clue what it was either for ages. And I am fortunate enough to be playing bass with Paul Gilbert. Woo. When I saw his videos on YouTube decades ago, I never thought that would be happening, but there we are. And Andy, of course, is going to be there as well.
I'll be there.
So come along, please. Be a great chance to, one, learn from a fantastic guitar player and teacher. Paul Gilbert is a fantastic player, great teacher. He's going to go through lots of different stuff at different levels. So even if you're a beginner, please come along. And you'll also get a chance to talk to us too. If you can fight through the crowds of, I'm sure, excited and adoring fans, please come along.
Both of them.
Yeah. So please come along. It's sure to be a great day and a great experience, and we'd love to meet some of the people who watch this and talk to you. So let's kick it off then.
Let's do it.
Andy.
Yes. I think you're expecting me to play like Jimmy Page, aren't you? Well, of course, we can only hope to be an imitation, but this is, we've done some episodes previously and we'll do more on improvising, on playing general lead guitar, and everybody seems to need a bit of help in it. With lead guitar, and what we're wanting to do is get influence from other players that we like, acquire something from them, however small or big, and have that create the unique cocktail which is each guitar player, because this is an extension of us. This is our personality, and that's what we're trying to do when we're playing any lead guitar, get something across which is a little bit of us. But there's a couple of things I would recommend that everybody check out and learn and want to get from Jimmy Page and some Led Zeppelin style lead lines. I think the easiest one and the first one that would be so beneficial to most of us is the expression of the middle solo, or the solo that is played just on its own in the middle of Heartbreaker. An extract of that is... So that's one little bit of that. And lead guitar, my goal when I'm playing lead guitar is trying to make this thing talk, as Bruce Springsteen sang about. And that is a great example of... with the bend and the space, I mean, that's 3 notes from the A minor pentatonic scale, which most people will be able to play, but getting that kind of expression from it, and then also choosing the expression, and that's not just picking unbent and then bending, it's actually a pre-bend. And then the very common lick. That is one that everybody should definitely learn, and I think anybody can learn. And that is position of A minor pentatonic, Heartbreaker's in the key of A, with the 7th fret, 5th fret, and the 7th fret again, supporting that 7th fret, and then we're bending straight to A. And I'm muting with this hand, and most people playing those notes will play it more like that. And the stops and the phrasing used there makes this thing kind of speak, definitely. And there are numerous examples of minor pentatonic licks. A great one that I'm wanting to teach sooner rather than later is the Stairway to Heaven solo, which is all just minor pentatonic. Great example of getting more out of the same stuff that we all use already. That would be the first scale that any guitar player learns. But there's just something that makes you think about where you're putting your fingers, which is the cool bit that he adds as a player. Yeah. They would be 2 great examples that I would recommend everyone check out. Basically, Heartbreaker and Stairway to Heaven. You can do a lot worse than learning anything from those songs. You can. Who are you going to be checking out first? What are your couple of licks from the player?
So we'll go with Dave Gilmour. Okay, are you ready for this? Here's my Dave Gilmour.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it has to be said. Yeah, it's so the joke there is that I don't. You can say so much about Dave Gilmour's playing, but it is in essence quite simple.
It's very simple.
It's the emotion, though.
Yes.
It's again the emotion. So mine was kind of the phrasing coming out and the lyrical quality, but here it's really communicating emotion, even in one note there.
So, I mean, kind of the solo that jumps to mind is Comfortably Numb. Which
Exactly.
I think it'll be for a lot of people. So I'll take something from that. Again, we're talking minor pentatonic. I think there's occasional minor like scale note in there, but a lot of bends, a lot of sustained, held notes. But with, like you were saying, a little bit of technique. So it's like something like that. Again, just in shape 1, a minor pentatonic.
So it's not necessarily the note choices, though I will be showing, we'll be showing a couple of licks that are very much about the note choices. Here we're very based on things that most players use, minor pentatonic, etc. But the phrasing of it says that's Dave Gilmour, or that's Jimmy Page,
because they're all using the same notes.
We've only got 12 notes in the world, as it were.
It's just the way that they play them.
Absolutely. So play that lick one last time.
So a nice bend from the 9th and the G, bringing it down and pulling off, not picking that note, pulling off, which is a great skill to be able to kind of chain these techniques, bend and to pull off, or down to the 9 on the D, and then another hammer on.
The last lick that I played was basically that of my Jimmy Page lick, but play yours exactly how you did it the first time and compare the two different voices, because you do a much better impression of Dave Gilmour than I, but I can do that sort of Jimmy Page franticness, I guess. Go ahead. Play the same way that you did the first time. Don't colour it too much. Keep it quite simple. In essence, that was keeping it. You were in B, weren't you? So it's not the note choices.
The exact same note.
That's with the franticness
that kind of aggression.
Jimmy Page and Angus Young, which is my voice on lead guitar. The thing that happens when I play it naturally and that I encourage. You have this smoothness to it, which comes less natural to me, but I try and acquire more when I'm emulating certain players. Do you have another lick that you could do a similar thing with?
Yes, there's a... Which is
so the overbend, really?
Yeah, the overbend. So again...
What gauge strings do you have on that, by the way?
These are 10.
Okay, because you have a guitar with 11s on, don't you?
On it
Good luck doing this with 11s. Whoa, you're not going to do it. But yeah.
So again, same song, same key. We've just shifted position from 1 into 2, or an E shape into a D shape, as I like to call them. So sliding into the overband. Sounds so great, doesn't it?
Is that Hotel California as well?
Probably.
It sounds like it to me. But again, the way you're playing it there has that Dave Gilmour smoothness and emotion to it because of so many little nuances. And if that's something that's new to you, the ear training episode that is coming up is so crucial. And I'm looking forward to releasing that one. We've got that one in the works, haven't we?
So the big point about this is the overbend, like you said, not a two fret bend, but 3 fret for 12th fret, bending up to the 15th.
And the chord underneath that could be, if it was the one, it would be B minor, wouldn't it? Just to give it context. Lovely. Really cool. So, I'm a teenager again. Mrs. Quabaco. That was a very Simpsons voice. I wish I could do that one, please. So, I only have the SG with me today, but I'm going to try and have a go at a couple of slash licks. It's important to note that the impressive bit, or the bit that people tend to think of when they think of Slash, are the faster licks, and the bits that are very, finger gymnastics, I guess. But most Slash solos that people are actually referencing are super melodic.
They are, actually.
And they're all about the same sort of things that we've been talking about already. The phrasing choices and that melody over licks. But there's one particular, just as an example of that as well, all the Sweet Child of Mine solos really are very major sounding. And the only note that wouldn't be major typically would be, rather than the major 7, we're pretty much always going for the dominant 7.
Yeah,
is just something to note as a little bit of Slash's playing. But there's one lick that I learnt from learning Slash solos that I could then easily put into my solos, because it was like we've talked about before, moving positions and sticking quite pentatonic, but getting more out of that. And that would be something like this. That was a really
what's that one from?
I believe that's the finals, or the last of the middle solos of Sweet Child of Mine. Last of the middle solos. Mine. How many solos is in that song? There's an awful lot, isn't there? Because when I was working that one out, I had to really juggle my fingers and see what was going to work for that. And that was another one that I worked out by ear, because I didn't have a guitar teacher at the time, and there wasn't the internet in its current form, so there was no YouTube, at least. But as far as finger gymnastics go, that is pretty simple to do. So we're thinking about this. That almost feels like I'm in the key of E minor kind of pentatonic here. That all feels like I'm in kind of position 1, but then moving and specifically kind of sliding up to the next position and just moving positions like that. Move, I remember, being one that I didn't have yet, and acquiring that really gave me something else to do. One last time. There are different ways to play it. That's the one that I'd recommend for people.
Really useful. Like you say, that taking those licks that actually use the position changes as well. Really great way, because people do struggle with that. It's not easy. It's a great way to look at, and the point of the position changes as well. Not just how to, but why. That's
sort of real. I like to see a lot of guitar solos as a ramp, rather than just one lick and then another lick and then another lick, and just trying to string them together. I like to kind of envisage that we're starting here, and by the end of this solo, we've got to end here, like emotionally wise. It's got to have a purpose to it. And an easy way to do that is just try and make sure that the general pitch level increases from maybe this part of the neck to this part of the neck, or from one octave to the next octave. And that, we want guitar solos should be exciting or emotional. And that's a great, easy way to do it, rather than always sort of meandering in one area. These emotional ones tending to go low to high, just typically something to take from these.
And we did an episode quite recently about taking a lick and then kind of forming a solo from the lick just by altering rhythm or the structure.
We can do that now if you want. The other licks that we covered were quite standalone. They're quite good, of course, doing something like that. Sounds great if you do that in a guitar shop on its own. It doesn't have music over it. But this one in particular, can you give me a different chord sequence in the key of D? That's not Sweet Child of Mine, but it's similar, not exactly the same. Otherwise I'm going to be tempted just to copy his solo, because let's be honest, it's Slash. It's quite good to copy. But I'll do something similar and use that lick, trying to stick to these. so. And again, the goal is not to sound exactly like Slash. It's to take something from the thing that you like about his playing, or one lick, something that made your ears prick up and go, that's cool, I want to learn that bit. And you can do that by learning the whole solos and plenty of songs from that artist's back catalogue. But often there's just one little bit of it that catches your ear, and you think, right, I'm going to learn that, but then try and acquire that lick, essentially. That's what we're trying to do.
And this is the thing, expanding, taking the licks. Because, like you said earlier, when we're improvising, we're not just hashing through our book of licks.
No.
We're trying to connect them in meaningful ways that come to us on the spot.
And if you find this sort of thing boring, and it's something you can do, but you feel like you're stuck in a rut, that's what you're doing. You're playing your, what we call the guitarist trick bag. Whatever licks come to you easily, they're what you're playing over everything. You're not listening to the music and you're not trying to add any new vocabulary to your playing. So this forces you to do that. But a great way to start with that is listen to whatever players you like and think, oh, that bit.
Exactly.
I'd love to be able to do that bit, and then do that in other solos, which requires learning that lick, which can take a number of hours perhaps, just to get one lick down as you like it and to get comfortable with where it is in different keys and things. But then showcase a solo based around that or using that lick, perhaps not even once, multiple times in the same solo. That's the great thing about, I really encourage people to improvise over normal songs as well as just backing tracks, because then what you're playing has more context. But the great thing about jamming over a backing track that might be 5 minutes long is you essentially get multiple attempts at kind of perfecting one solo that you're hacking into shape, kind of like someone might carve a chair out of wood or something, make something beautiful out of something that was there, but you had to chip away at it. I like to think of, that's how I kind of compose guitar solos. I think about the overall structure and then just chip away at it and try and do it like that, rather than play one note and imagine what might come next.
Exactly.
You know, get a rough outline and then chip away at it.
My old teacher used to say there's the 3 I's when it comes to learning kind of new things on the guitar. There's imitation, which is the kind of thing we're doing. Internalization, so really getting that under the fingers, really understand it, and like you say, play it to different
making sure it's something that you can demonstrate in different keys, different positions, and when you demonstrate it, is that thing you liked about it still there?
Is it still there? Then the last one is innovation. Again, like you said, you're changing it, you've taken what you like, and now you're using that aspect of it and changing it, which is great. So we've got one more, which is a John Mayer style lick, and it is quite simple. We've seen something from it kind of gravity inspired. This is basically going up a pentatonic gravity, and what's the other one? Waiting on the World.
Waiting on the World to Change has essentially that move, but you could do the same move in any key. And the concept is there. I mean, it sounds like the major pentatonic to me, but on one string, which is something that I encourage everyone to do that wants to make, especially if you want to get out of a rut easily, just try and play as good a solo as you can on one string. But as a move, this is phenomenal, and the phrasing that you get there is very Mayer-like, much more than I can by playing the same lick. And I want to try and see what we're doing here to get that kind of sound.
So it comes a lot from hammer-ons and slides, but then the vibrato's really key. So it's basically the same move, just straight up the scale, hammer-on, slide, vibrato. Ooh.
Okay, so.
That's interesting, the vibrato difference between us two, and then the change that makes to the sound of it is
totally
huge.
different, isn't it?
Play the exact same notes.
Which is actually why we've chosen the players that we've gone for. A lot of that has to do with how our fingers do vibrato. And do yours one more time, so I really want to try and get it. I get closer to it if I'm lighter, I think. And it's I'm not quite getting it to ring out in the same way as yours, but I'm not not sustaining in the same way, when I am as light as I want to be, literally the note doesn't ring out the same, which might be a bit to do with, you know, height of frets and things, but typically I'm pressing down harder and kind of grabbing it a little bit more, which is a bit more of my personality and a bit more bull in a china shop, I guess. And that finesse to that is something that I'm wanting to add to my playing, and that's such an easy way to do it. So with that being kind of the key of D or something, just I'll try and play a sequence that's similar to but not the same as Waiting on the World to Change. See what you can try and stick as close to that as possible. So if someone's just learnt that lick, how can they put that into a solo, for example? Beautiful. And over the episodes that we've been filming on lead guitar especially, we've been talking about this mix of, first of all, if you want to get into lead guitar, you're probably going to start on the minor pentatonic scale if you're learning electric guitar, and then you want to integrate the major scale, learn them separate, and then integrate the two. That is a fantastic way for people to learn and then see that blend happening, even if you're generally sticking to the major pentatonic, because we have that blend, especially on that last little kind of lick you did. That was very B.B. King, which is a blues thing, but that was a pop song in the key of D major. Is there anything you can share with us on that? Let me think about, especially with that. So that was a bend from the second to the major third, and then up to a four. In a very lyrical fashion. Just do that same thing again as you did before. 3, 4. I like how you had to go down, because it's kind of, you don't. It doesn't really. That's the peak. That's the peak of the solo. That's where they wanted to finish. And when I talk about that ramp, how I would compose solos, and how many are, you're trying to ramp up the emotion towards the end of a solo. If you start up there, it's kind of like, there's only one way to come. I've got to go back. But doing the same lick lower down was a good way out. So much of what you're playing there is actually learnt by learning blues licks in the style of a B.B. King or other John Mayer songs, but he's mixing it, and I believe I've heard him say that when he writes a song or even a set list, what he's trying to do is get that perfect mix of pop and blues, ideally in the same song. And if he doesn't do it in the same song, when he has a set list in front of him, he'll do a blues song and then a pop song, then a blues song, and then ideally one that mixes the two. He's always aware that that's what he does best. That's his unique voice, where it just showcases what he does. If he just does blues, it's missing sometimes that accessibility. And if he just does pop, he's missing all that coolness that makes it John Mayer, you know. Really cool. So that's one of the things I would say that makes him an exceptional player, and of course he's got a hell of a voice on him.
He does have a very good voice.
Far too much going for him, that.
He does, doesn't he?
But really cool. We'll leave you guys by jamming that one out, but as I say, we have links on especially on the Your Guitar Academy website, to player studies of each of the players that we've mentioned here and more. Those licks are tabbed out exactly as we've done them on both of our websites. And any questions you have about this, let us know in the comments below, and we will do more videos on it on another episode of Another Guitar Show. Let's play you guys out. Let's do it.